Well, the Footprint Trust is an educational charity that was set up in 2003 to reduce the ecological footprint of the Isle of Wight. And the first question then people say, what's the ecological footprint? Well, back in 1999, the Isle of Wight Council, along with myself, the Environment Agency and various other organisations and businesses, set about finding out about how much stuff we actually use on the island, how much water, how much energy, how much food, and that was all measured by Imperial College in London, and it was found that the Isle of Wight was using something like 2.5 times its Earth share. So if everyone in the world lived as we do on the Isle of Wight, we'd need a planet 2.5 times the size. Clearly that's not sustainable. The mainland and indeed the rest of Europe has a footprint of around about 3. So we're slightly less than the guys on the mainland, if you like. And that's because we're quite good at recycling, and people here maybe don't travel quite so much. Certainly those who live in towns don't. In Newport we've got one of the lowest amounts of car ownership. So when compared to the wasteful mainland and Europe, we're much better. And if compared to America, of course, then we're quite angelic. So if you look around the rest of the world, look for countries that only have a footprint of 1, i.e. a sustainable amount, countries such as Turkey and Cuba would be 2 quite good examples. And if you went to a market in either of those countries, you'd find that most of the products there, most of the produce has probably come within 5 miles of that marketplace. Now if you go to a market here on the Isle of Wight or in Southampton or Edinburgh, you'll go into your market, which will be a supermarket, and you'll be hard pushed to find anything that's come from 5 miles away. And even if you did, it's probably done a round trip of 200 miles to be repackaged. But the ultimate aim is obviously to seek to reduce the footprint, and that's what our projects try and do.
How are you funded?
Well, we've had a number of different funding streams over the last few years. European Union, the big lottery, business sponsorship, small amount from the Isle of Wight Council. So it's been many and various different funding streams and many different projects too. We give away free low energy light bulbs, we give away free saver flush bags, and we also do free home visits. So we will advertise during the cold weather and say, look, let us come round, talk about energy saving, because again, here you have an example of environmental damage, people burning too much energy in inefficient homes, old-fashioned heating systems. We go in, help them get grants to insulate their homes. We've had a double whammy really there, because we've helped someone in fuel poverty to pay their bills, reduce their fuel bill. We've also helped Britain by reducing the energy bill, and we've helped them, you know, make ends meet. So it's often very practical things, because one thing that concerns me as someone who's been interested in the environment since the 1980s is that often it's just a middle class thing. It's someone who's got a bit of extra money and they say, right, well, I'll go and buy an A-rated fridge, I'll put some solar panels on my roof, I'll do various things, but it's all about spending money. We take the approach that it's all about using less. And it's lovely to have some green bling on your roof, some solar panels, but if you're still flying abroad on holiday twice a year and you've got an inefficient boiler, they're the things you really need to look at, and the sort of green bling things really, yeah, they're very nice to have, but there's more important fundamental things to do. So anything we can do to reduce our energy use, and then of course to generate our own energy, particularly from renewable, everlasting resources, obviously is something we have to look at. And it's a great sadness for us at the Footprint Trust that whilst we talk about Eco Island, you know, on one of the windiest places in the UK, one of the windiest places in the world, not one proper wind turbine, and the closure of a factory that used to employ 500 younger people. That's a great sadness for the UK and a great sadness for the island, and there is no good reason why we shouldn't have a handful of large wind turbines on the Isle of Wight, and we disagree fundamentally with those that say they're ugly. We believe passionately in wildlife, passionately in the environment, but we are forward-thinking conservationists, not backward-looking preservationists, and that's a big difference. And we have to ask ourselves some very serious questions here on the island. We're importing virtually all our energy from off-island. What do we want? Because if we don't want wind turbines, the island is a fantastic place to put 3 lovely nuclear power stations. It is the ideal place to put nuclear power. Just because it hasn't been proposed yet doesn't mean it won't be. So if we don't want one thing, maybe we need to think very seriously about what we do want. But we need all this, and we don't have the luxury of time anymore. But the fear of climate change, I think, and the reality of climate change is a far worse thing than having 3 wind turbines.
Yeah, what's your view of the Eco Island initiative?
Eco Island was, launched with this great funfair, and it took us all by surprise because none of us knew that this was going to be announced. I think it took the PR guys at the council by surprise as well. And we were looking forward to some really big things happening. And a couple of things have happened. I mean, the home insulation scheme that the council have set up with the Mark Group is a really good example of something practical, which is insulating island homes. And they've also got the Warm One Island scheme, whereby people on low income can get financial help to insulate their homes. So if the government scheme doesn't quite put in enough, the council are chipping in a bit. So that's two very good things that they've done. But you do struggle about other things because you're sort of looking at the council's operations themselves, and they haven't really managed to reduce their carbon emissions very much. They've done a bit. The lights are no longer on in County Hall when you go past at 10 o'clock at night, but obviously they've got to do a lot more. Eco Island isn't just about the environment, it's about economics as well, and well-being and safer neighbourhoods, and so those things are all happening. But you do sort of hope that the big guys on the island, which is the Primary Care Trust, the NHS and the council, they're the ones that we're sort of looking to, I think, as an island, to give us some really good examples, to see about energy efficient vehicles, to encourage staff to cycle and car share and things like that. So we do look to the big guys to sort of give us a lead, but it's about everyone. You can't just turn around and say it's all the council's job. I think that is a cop-out. It's individuals. We can all do something. We can all recycle our waste, we can all turn lights off, we can all look for at least one thing that we can do.
So what do you think of the Chell Community Project?
Well, the Chell Community Project has really given us a real focus on the island of what can be done, and it's because of the support of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, who went out and got this money, and it's not just the people in the social housing that are benefiting. We, on behalf of that project, are visiting people in private homes and helping them reduce their fuel bills. So it's really acted as a catalyst for lots of other things, and of course it's being watched by other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So hopefully similar projects will take place. We are very supportive of the project and think that Ellen MacArthur has done a fantastic job.